We talked about education.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank all of you for coming out here tonight. The most important thing in a political process is to have an informed electorate. So many times we have people that just go out and they vote. They don't take the time to learn about the different candidates, learn about the issues, and then you don't really have a very good political process. Too many times you have people that just go out and they watch in some television show and they see an ad or they see a radio, drive and hear a radio ad and they vote that way. We have a better political process when people do what you're doing, and that's listen to the candidates here. A little bit of a background about myself. I've lived in this community now with my family for over 45 years. We've seen this community prosper. We've seen this community have some very difficult times. My family's gone through all of that. We've been a big part of this community. This community has been great to my family in a number of ways. My father came here as a basketball coach and with the support of this community was able to rise to the top of his profession and win the national championship. My mother has been an educator her entire life. She actually started the largest private hard of hearing school in California, which it still is today. She came here to Nevada. She was able to work on the Clark County School Board for 12 years. Now she's on the city council. My parents instilled upon all of us the importance of community service and giving back to the community. I've tried to do that in my entire life. I started the Tarkanian Basketball Academy. It's a nonprofit group where we work to teach young kids the life lessons you learn through playing sports. We don't take public money for it. We earn the money through renting out the facility of our programs. We've taught thousands of kids that have gone through that program. I've been involved with the Father's Voice program called Team Focus, and also with the Hope for Prisoners program, which works with people that are being released from jail and getting them acclimated to society. The next obvious step for me was to get into public service, and I believe Washington, D.C. is where I can best use my talents. See, I grew up in an athletic family where we learned how to work together, come together as a united team, how to get the most out of the people you work with, work across party lines and get things done. And again, as my opponent said, that is what's wrong with Washington. That is what's wrong with Washington, D.C. They go back there and whether it's Republican or Democrat, they go back there and they get just thrilled with the power and the prestige and the influence they're out of being a congressman or a senator, and they lose focus of what's most important. And what's most important is serving the people you represent. That's the thing my mother instilled upon me when she went into public service as a city councilwoman. Her first vote of the city council was against the biggest booster my dad had at UNLV. And I said, how could you do that? He didn't talk with her for 2 years. And she said, Danny, if you're going to get into public service, you do what's best for the people you represent, even if it hurts you personally or if it hurts you politically. And I think that's what's missing in Washington, D.C. Now, I've got an education background as an attorney, but I've been working in the real estate business here in Southern Nevada. I believe the information that I have will help me go back to Washington, D.C. and work really well within the departments that I want, the committees I want to work on, which would be the Finance Committee, the Transportation Committee, things that are very important to the people of Southern Nevada. My opponent and I have different beliefs in a number of areas. I assume we're going to have some questions and get into some of those. Difference opinion in education. We both agree that education is failing here in Southern Nevada. We need to do something to make it a better place. My belief in education is we need to put more money into the classrooms, into the teachers, their assistants, and into the equipment, the class books that the students have. Not creating new programs that are innovative, that may or may not work, but at the same time depriving good salaries to the people that are teaching the kids. I believe in school choice. So many wealthy individuals who can afford it will send their kids to a private school, but the people that don't have a lot of money, the people that love their kids just as much, that want their kids to be educated just as much as a wealthy parent, they don't have the chance to send their kids to a private school. And school choice allows them to do that. And every individual is paying taxes for their education system. I believe the parents should be able to determine how best they should educate their child. We can go on to some other categories, and I'll take them, but I think we're going to take some questions. But the economy is a very big part of what's going on here in our society today. The best economy in my generation, probably most of yours, and I want to continue to see it go that way. I'm a lifelong resident here. I love this community. I believe I'll make a great public servant if I give you the chance to serve you, and I hope you give me that opportunity. Thank you.
Your mom was also on the school board as well.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. I thought I said that.
So first question is, number one, fresh off the first anniversary of October 1 mass shooting, do you think the Second Amendment should be repealed? If not, what is your solution as far as new gun restrictions?
I absolutely do not believe the Second Amendment should be repealed. First of all, if you are a criminal and you're going to commit a mass murder, you're going to get weapons and you're going to do it. They're going to find guns and they're going to do it illegally. And if they don't find guns, what are they doing in Europe right now? They're taking trucks and vans and they're running over people, they're stabbing people with knives. We have a problem in society. Now, we should do whatever reasonable methods we can while protecting our Second Amendment rights to make it more difficult for people who shouldn't have guns to have guns. I, as one of the few Republicans out there, believe we should have background checks for everyone, including people that are buying guns at gun shows and so forth. I don't believe we should have those bump stocks that basically circumvent the law of having to go through a very rigorous process of getting an automatic weapon. Instead, you can do it with almost any weapon you have. Those are things that we can do to stop people that should have guns, that aren't, that will be a danger, but at the same time protecting the rights of people that have a lawful right to have a gun, whether it's for their enjoyment or whether it's for their self-defense. Again, good people that follow the law are not committing these mass murders. It's criminals that are doing so, and criminals will get the weapons to commit those murders one way or another.
This is on the Middle East. I guess you can address your position on the broader issue of the Middle East peace. But this question specifically says, how should the United States assist Syria, or maybe the writer meant Syria? I don't know about assist, but that's what it says.
I'm going to give my belief. So this is, again, a little bit different from a regular Republican, but I think what you're going to get from me is the honest, true convictions, and I think the common sense positions. I don't believe the United States should be entering wars overseas unless it's an imminent threat, a serious imminent threat to our national security of one of our close allies, such as Israel. But we shouldn't be going overseas. We shouldn't have gone into Iraq because we said Saddam had weapons of mass destruction. Well, heck, Syria has them, Iran has them, and we could be, North Korea has them. We'd be fighting the whole world if we're going to do that. We shouldn't have gotten into Libya. We shouldn't be in Syria. We should be taking care of the American people here first and our allies like Israel.
This is on Puerto Rico, and maybe the writer that wrote this is addressing the larger issue of statehood, but the question specifically says, should Puerto Rico have voting members in Congress?
Only if they are brought into the United States as a state. And I don't, for one, believe that we should be expanding the scope of the United States right now. I know that this is going to be a vote for the Puerto Rican people, and so far they haven't voted.
Next question. Do you think the border wall is worth the financial commitment to build it? Why or why not?
First of all, you can ask Israel if the wall works, right? They built it and it's worked for them. Now, I believe we need to have a secure border. I know any reasonable person would believe we should have secure borders. Don't we want to protect and stop bad people from coming to our country, or say contraband from coming to our country? Do we want to have open borders and allow anybody to come in, whether they're an asset to our country or a hindrance? Do we want any kind of drugs coming to our country? Of course not. We have to have secure borders. Now, a wall is not the best way across the entire southern border. Some places the wall is the most efficient. Other places, you can't build a wall in the deep rivers and so forth. Find the best way to secure borders and make sure we do that. Nothing's more important for the federal government than the national safety and security of the people they represent, and that's what we should be doing.
This question was also asked of your opponent in terms of working across the aisle, but this specific question says, on what issues do you disagree with your own party? Well, you already outlined a few right there.
Yeah, I don't believe we should be fighting wars overseas that we'd have no business being involved, and that's the biggest one. Look, we spent $3 trillion. Can you imagine that? $3 trillion in wars overseas. We spent $1.2 billion a year having a military base in South Korea. We've had that for, 70, 80 years now? Imagine the money we're spending overseas, but we can't take care of the veterans that come back to the United States and give them the health care they need, the retraining that they need, the attention that they need for whatever mental disorders they have. I absolutely disagree with that. And I disagree with the spending bill that was just passed, the $1 trillion debt that it's going to incur upon the American people. Look, we have a huge problem with our debt right now. It's over $20 trillion. Too often, this is, again, the problem with Washington, D.C. It's easy to kick the can down the road and allow somebody else to take care of the tough decisions when they're not in office anymore. But what are we doing to the American people? How are we going to pay back $20 trillion plus when interest rates start rising and almost the entire budget is going to be based upon paying back that debt? You know what's going to happen? This should scare every single one of you. The only way they're going to pay back that debt is to print money by the hundreds of billions, if not trillions of dollars. It's going to inflate, it's going to cause inflation, it's going to devalue the dollar. So all of you people, or any of us that are going to be on fixed income at some point in time, we're never going to be able to pay for the things we need to pay for because of the irresponsibility of the current congressmen and senators in Washington, D.C.
Okay, please take 60 seconds or so and give your final pitch for your candidacy.
Look, I think this is the most important election in my lifetime, and I argue that may very well be for all of yours. We have an opportunity now. Look, many of us, most of us in this room, probably don't agree with the language and some of the tweets that President Trump has. I certainly don't agree with some of the things that he's tweeted out or has said. I agree with the policies that he's trying to implement, that he campaigned and promised on. Virtually every candidate had promised to move the U.S. Embassy in Israel to Jerusalem. Only one person kept that promise. President Trump understands businesses. When he came in, he cut regulations, where now we have reasonable regulations that protect the workforce and protect the environment, but allow businesses to prosper. We're getting our tax code fairer. It's not there yet, but we're getting it fairer. What do we see now? Lowest unemployment rate in 50 years. For women, lowest unemployment rate in 56 years. For minorities, the lowest unemployment in recorded time. For years and years, almost a decade, we saw stagnant wage growth. Now, under the current policies, the economic policies being implemented, we're seeing wage growth at the highest level in 12 years. I'm going to go back to Washington, D.C. I'm not voting with President Trump every single time. When he breaks his promise of what he campaigned on, I'm not going to vote with him. But when he starts talking about the things he talks about, building a better economy, take care of Americans first, take care of American workers first, not intervening militarily in wars we shouldn't be involved in, making the rest of the world, NATO primarily, to pay their fair share of their security costs for the military. Those are things I'm going to vote for. Now, my opponent is not going to support those things. She's going to vote the way the Democrats voted those things. I believe, and I ask each and every one of you when you go to the polls, do you feel better now of where we're at as a country? Take away the rhetoric. Okay, I'm not going to argue with you with rhetoric. Do you feel better economically, safety, and where we're at with our country? Because I believe we are, and I'm going to vote for those ways. I believe education is the most important thing. I'm going to work on that. I believe the economy is very, very important. We're going to work with that. And I believe our national debt is very important. We talked about how we're going to do with that. I hope you give me a chance to go back to Washington, D.C., because I'm going to make you very proud of me. What motivated me about running for public service was in the early 80s, there were two senators from Nevada that I just think were the epitome of what a public servant was. One was a gentleman named Senator Richard Bryan, a Democrat. The other one was Senator Paul Laxalt. They were opposite parties. They worked together. They loved Nevada. They did what was best for the people of Nevada, not what was best for them personally. And if you give me the opportunity to represent you in Washington, D.C., the success or failure for me is that when I leave, you will feel that I did everything I possibly could to make you feel about me the way I felt about Senator Paul Laxalt and Senator Richard Bryan. Thank you very much.
All right, please welcome. We're right on time, I think, and so please welcome to the platform Congresswoman Jackie Rosen. Woo!
As the immediate past president of Congregation Near to Me, I usually say Shabbat Shalom, and if I don't say that, I get to do the announcements after the rabbi. So I can tell you it's Noah Shabbat this week, and the sisterhood